a Lidar collection workflow. Well, let's get started. You know, you may have said this yourself at one time or another, or heard someone say it, gee, something like this. I could really benefit from some Lidar data for my county. You kind of fill it in, right? County, city, agency, state, etc. Now, that's a great first step to realize the need for Lidar data. I was just talking with some colleagues yesterday and really discussing the advantages of Lidar data and how so many additional capabilities are possible with Lidar data. You know, in my lifetime or in my career, let's say, I have gone through kind of commonly using the 90-meter elevation models from USGS to the 30-meter DEMs, digital elevation models, to the 10-meter national elevation data set. And every time we proceeded through one of those steps to the next generation of surface data, it always brought advantages of, boy, we can do a lot more with it. We understand the landscape a whole lot better, and so on and so forth. Well, Lidar is essentially 100 times better than NED. We normally are looking at 1 meter pixels instead of 10-meter pixels. So inside every one 10-meter pixel from NED, we have 100 Lidar 1-meter pixels. And the ability to see things, to detect things like faults and landslides is just tremendous, the capability and the ability of Lidar. So that's a great first step to realize the need for Lidar. The next question then, or the next step would be, is Lidar data already available for my area of interest, AOI? And I also want to point out to you, watch this little timeline down here. So let's say we're working in our first year. This is June of year 1. Okay, I just made that up. And we're going to watch this timeline so we can see how the actual workflow progresses across time. Well, let's go into this then. So is Lidar data already available for my area of interest? First thing to do, go to the Idaho Lidar Consortium. If you don't know about that place, well, there's the link for it. And alternatively or secondarily, check with the US Interagency Elevation Inventory. There's a link for that. And then also check for the in progress and existing 3DEP quality data. Now we're going to learn what 3DEP is in just a little bit. And there's another link for that site as well. So a couple different places to check, about 3 different places to check. And what you might find out is that the data does already exist. Wow, it's great. You can skip everything else about requesting additional data or trying to get additional or new Lidar data. It already exists. You might find it. Go to the Idaho Lidar Consortium, use this, view existing data, view upcoming data. Now, if the data is not available, you might want to, and we're going to talk about this in just a minute, you certainly might want to add it to a wish list. And what you're going to find out most likely is that there are other people who want data, Lidar data, in roughly that same area. Here's a screenshot of that second site to check, the US Interagency Elevation Inventory. Once again, there's that same link. And let's just say that your interest for your AOI is the Pocatello, Idaho area. You could simply type that in, Pocatello, Idaho, right here. What do you find? Oh, it comes back with 6 different data sets for the Pocatello area. It zooms up to that region and the status shows in progress or complete. Okay, so here we're looking at the status for these 6 areas. And we have some, okay, this one's in progress, this one's in progress. Oh, that one has been completed. It was acquired in 2017, not really too long ago. Then if we want to, we can click a panel to show even more information. Again, we're seeing that same 2017 collection date. We are confirming it is complete. How do I get it? Well, it's going to send us right back to the Idaho Lidar Consortium website. And effectively, you're going to be going to the servers that we host here at the GIS Center, the Lidar Spatial Library servers that have literally hundreds of terabytes of Lidar data sitting on them, with room for hundreds of terabytes more Lidar data. So if that's it, then I guess it's all over with, right? I need the data right here, and you're gonna go ahead and follow the data access. I would actually look at the metadata first though, because what you may find out is, oh, I see this was just QL2 or QL4 data, a little bit lower level quality of data. So maybe it really isn't going to satisfy. And you don't necessarily want to download about half a terabyte of data only to find out after you've waited for it to download that it's not really what you want. So look at that metadata first. Okay, but let's say the area you are searching for, you come up empty. There is you cannot find any LiDAR data available for your AOI, your area of interest. Okay, so the next step is anyone else in my area interested in collecting LiDAR data? So talk with colleagues in your area. You probably have a pretty good network of GISers, maybe some county folks and city folks you know of. Talk to them. Here in Idaho, talk to the put out an email to the Idaho Geo list. Essentially, every GISer in the state of Idaho belongs to that, and that's a good way to start learning about similar interests. Go back to the Idaho Lidar Consortium website and post your wish list AOI. Draw a little polygon on that map, put in your contact, and make sure that your wish list is out there so others can see it. Or even better yet, use the nationwide C-Sketch to post your wish list AOI. There again is that same URL that you can make use of. And also, in addition to these things, contact Idaho's points of contact for LiDAR. That's Tom Carlson from the USGS. That's Marshall Rivers, who is joining us today from FEMA, and Eric Bueller. I don't know if Eric's on. I also don't know if Tom is on, but nonetheless, there is their contact information right here. And by the way, once this posts out to YouTube, I'll make sure to pull out these all these different links and have those available to you in the description of that YouTube video. Now let's understand big picture priorities. Federal funding partners like the USGS and their 3DEP program, FEMA and the CTP program, NRCS, they're going to prioritize some areas over others. And the reason I'm pointing out these are the three big leaders in LiDAR acquisitions across the United States. I think without these three, we would probably have very, how many times do I have to say very little LiDAR data available to us in the state of Idaho. I mean, it's really that important. In general, countywide or other large contiguous collections are going to be prioritized by these federal partners. The USGS 3DEP, three-dimensional elevation program, I'm not even remembering the acronym anymore. They are going to prioritize large areas for collection because of economies of scale, right? Cost savings. 3DEP prioritizes collections, you can see there, based on the extent of federal areas of interest, That doesn't necessarily mean federal lands, but federal areas of interest. Now, some gap filling, smaller areas, may also be prioritized if the area has associated hazards, some sort of risk, emergency management type of things that would require LiDAR to better understand that risk. Flooding, landslides, seismic activity, these sorts of things. Now, in this case, consider collecting continuous or contiguous blocks of areas at the Huck 8 or Huck 10 watershed scales. Now, I'm not talking about Huckleberry Finn or anything from Mark Twain. I'm talking about hydrologic unit codes, level 8. That is, if you can see this, these blue, kind of dark blue, purplish polygons that you're seeing, they're kind of big. In fact, a lot of these hydrologic unit codes in the southern part of the state are larger than a lot of counties. Any of these areas here. So you might say, well, I need data in that general area, but maybe some other partners would say, well, let's just go ahead and make a request for the entire hydrologic unit code watershed. Talk it up. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Contact the Idaho Lidar Collection Consortium and ask about upcoming Lidar collections. Maybe folks like folks at the ILC will know about, hey, I was just talking to someone 2 weeks ago about this same general area. And they can make connections for you or help you make connections. Participate in the Idaho Elevation Technical Working Group. That's the E-Twig. Those meetings typically happen every month. They are on Thursday afternoons. And if you're interested in knowing about exactly when those happen, just put that into the chat line or send me an email and ask for those details, and I'll be sure to get you connected to the Elevation Technical Working Group. I am also a member of the E-Twig, and so I can help you out. And Josh Enterkind from the Idaho Lidar Consortium chairs that. So he'd be one of those folks you probably would want to talk to about upcoming Lidar collections. But wait, you're probably saying, isn't Lidar expensive? Well, you might be thinking it's out of your price range. And if you go it alone, you better believe it. It will be cost prohibitive. But again, look at those federal partners and programs to help bring those costs down. There is the USGS 3DEP. There's a link to that whole program. The NRCS has the National Enterprise Elevation Program, NEEP, I guess, if we can pronounce that. They are partners in 3DEP. And then, of course, there's the FEMA CTP program, and there is the link for those Cooperating Technical Partners program. So you have an area of interest. It has not been yet collected. Maybe you get together with a couple of other people or a number of other people in the same general area. You've designated a relatively large block of landscape that needs some LiDAR data. You've identified that you're going to be pursuing either a 3DEP proposal or a CTP proposal. Well, it's then time to complete the proposal. Don't be daunted by grant proposals. I guess that's easy to say. I've done a lot of grant proposals. The first one is daunting. Yeah, no doubt about it. But it's not that terribly difficult. And you can get assistance. You can get assistance while you're preparing that proposal. Again, talking to the Idaho Lidar Consortium and being an active member or a member of the Elevation Twig. Talking to those folks, and you'll find out that it's not quite so terribly difficult. In fact, you may talk to some folks that say, I already did something just like that 2 years ago, and they might share with you their general proposal that you can at least use it as a boilerplate. You can look at what they wrote to see, oh, this is what I have to do. Those sort of things, real important stuff. Take some time to learn about LiDAR data standards and what to expect from your collection. Look at the LiDAR base specification, the LBS. Look at the Idaho statewide LiDAR plan. Again, there'll be links that you'll have access to for these things. I'll jump you right to it and help you out. The USGS has the broad agency announcement that is due in October. FEMA CTP executive summaries, think of these as pre-proposal ideas, are due in January. Now, let me draw your attention again to this timeline. We started talking and we said, okay, let's just simulate it's June. We went through, if you're watching this stuff, we were September. Now we're looking at October through January. And January, October through January. So we've already got a number of months put in on this project. We have to wait, and we have to be patient. After submitting your proposal application, you're going to need to wait a little bit. But in the meantime, continue talking with others in your area and participating in the eTwig. Additional partners can help further drive down the price per acre. So just because you've submitted that proposal, that application, doesn't mean that the doors are all closing and no one else can partner in. Certainly that can still happen. So there may be some new contacts that you're going to learn about to help maybe expand the area a little bit, but at the same time, drive the price per acre down. Let's say you're fortunate, you're lucky, you've been approved for funding. First, celebrate. Second, work with your point of contact at USGS or FEMA. And here's what to expect. There's going to be agreements and contracts that will need to be signed. And my tip to you is make sure you're not the one delaying the process. This is already a long process. Now notice here, we're down in March. Okay, we're coming up on a full year of work. So make sure you're not the one delaying the process. Try to get your materials back to those points of contact as rapidly as you can, at the same time doing a good job at preparing your materials. Agreements with many partners, understand, are more complicated and time consuming, but the benefit is price per acre will be lower and your organization, your agency will be spending less. Coordination is essential between all parties, including the vendor that is selected to collect LiDAR data. So another player is going to come in at about this stage, and it's going to be the vendor that has been selected by either USGS or FEMA or a group decision that we're going to go with, Acme Lidar Company, something like that. Don't miss the window. Okay, so now we're talking about a temporal window. Notice we're now in the year 2, June. It's the full year around. LiDAR is usually best when collected leaf off and snow off. In Idaho, that leaves a pretty small window of opportunity. Most collections do occur in leaf on condition. That's what we're finding, and that's okay. Collections, however, will be halted for snow. Even 1 or 2 inches of snow will be considered too much snow, and that will halt collections. We saw that in 2019. I think it was the Pissimirois, some project area in the Pissimirois were being collected in late August or September. Early snow came in and just delayed collection for about 2 weeks. For your information, project parameters dictate the best collection times. Tree inventory is best done leaf on, whereas fluvial geomorphology projects or stream flow projects may require leaf off or low flow conditions of those streams. So leaf off in early spring when the water is really, really raging may not be a good window of opportunity, really. For this LiDAR collection process here, again, the vendors are going to submit price quotes for your LiDAR collection, and this follows a more or less standardized core requirements. And a lot of this stuff is going to be, really handled by your point of contact, but you won't be blind to it, and you probably need to watch what's going on with that. Once a vendor has been reviewed and selected, those flight collections can begin, and they require at least 2 weeks to a month or more to complete the data collection. Now, if you've submitted a 3-step proposal through that broad agency announcement, the process is a little bit different, as you're going to see in the next slide. 3-step BAA process. Okay, submit the proposal. If you're funding, you're going to get a letter. And there may be requests for some revisions or alterations of your project. So again, you want to be sure that you respond as promptly as you can and make sure you're not the one delaying the process. You'll start working with your USGS National Map Liaison. That's going to be Tom Carlson, almost certainly, to develop this statement of work, the SOW, and joint financial agreements. You'll firm up the AOI. It may move a little bit, so be prepared for that. Then you're going to get an initial cost estimate from USGS and the kind of the entire estimate of the process, what's going to happen, what's going to be collected, what are the deliverables, what's the QL quality level, those sort of things. And your liaison will develop that SOW, so that's that statement of work again. JFA is the joint financial agreement. Send those to you for your review, and this is an iterative process. Be prepared for lots of back and forth. Then normally there's a kickoff meeting between the USGS, all the different partners, you and your own organization, maybe some other regional partners, and the vendor. Wow, all that's happening. Data collection, let's say, is finally complete. The vendor says, we got it all. Took us 2 weeks, it took us a month, it took us 6 months, whatever it happens to be. And you might be saying, well, how can I get these data now? Well, understand, they're not really ready for prime time. Now look at the timeline. We're into September of that year 2. These data are not ready for prime time. You see, the collected LiDAR pulse and return data need to be processed by the vendor. This processing creates standardized what we call LAS files, normally following the ASPRS standard. These data are then quality assurance, quality control checked internally by the vendor and then by USGS. And this review process can take a month or more. Fixing errors and cleaning up the data. An iterative QA/QC processing can actually require up to about 6 months. One of the final tests or one of the final QA/QC checks is what was called a vertical accuracy test, and that can require an additional month. Now, sometimes you'll have the opportunity, hey, we finished all the basic QA/QC processing. We haven't done the vertical, that's the last test. Do you want the data now? My recommendation to you is you've been patient already. Keep being patient and ask for that data once it has gone through the vertical accuracy testing. Because otherwise what may happen is you say, yeah, no, give me the data right now. And you get it, and then maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months later, you find out, oops, we found some errors and there is a new delivery 2 for your project area with corrections to the vertical data, which is the important stuff, right, for LiDAR. And then you're downloading a new set of data, reprocessing, reworking a whole bunch of data, and it may not be worth your effort to say, kind of get in a hurry and say, give me that data as fast as possible. Data delivery. Once all processing, review, and corrections have been successfully completed, the new LiDAR data is delivered. Now, here at ISU's GIS Training and Research Center, we typically receive an external hard drive from UPS or FedEx. It's the good old days of the sneaker net. This data is so big that it's really difficult for the vendors or the agencies to send us the data via the internet. We normally do get it by UPS or FedEx. In fact, I have a disk that's out for delivery today. UPS is carrying it, a couple terabytes, and I should have it this afternoon. Here at the GIS Center, we're going to offload these data. It may take us overnight to get that done. We'll explore that data, organize it, and bundle it, zip it, to make that as small as possible for you to get it. We'll then copy that new LiDAR collection to our servers, and we can normally accomplish all this in 2 weeks or less. The last collection that we had received was for Adams County. That was a 4 terabyte, 3.5 terabyte collection, and we had it all done and out for, ready for download in less than 2 weeks. So we move it as quickly as we can. Notice where we are. We're now in year 3. So we've gone through 2 full years in this whole process. Value added data from the GIS Center. The original LiDAR data as delivered is always made available on our servers, but we're also reprocessing some of these LiDAR data to increase the number and percentage of bare ground returns, and we're pit filling the bare earth raster layers. And that can help a lot. It can help you tremendously if you're doing any flow modeling. The pit filling is an important step. Caveats and contingencies, you know, COVID has added 3 to 4 months or more delay in many, many cases. Early snow, as I already alluded to, can halt or completely delay a collection. And if it's an early snow that doesn't go away, you may be waiting over till the next spring to resume collection. In some areas, FAA clearances can cause delays. Very northern parts of Idaho might have that sort of problem. And there could also be some contracting problems. Aligning the need to the yearly funding cycles, that's normally not too much of a problem, I've heard. But also sometimes you have a partner who backs out, throwing a monkey wrench into the works. Realistically, from wish list to data on your disk, plan for a 2-year project. No kidding. Plan for a 2-year project. Now, what are you going to do with your terabytes of data? Well, you can learn how to use LiDAR data by enrolling in the GIS Center's free LiDAR workshops. They are free because of the support from FEMA. Again, do a shout out to Marshall, who's on the line, and thank him for that, and thank FEMA for that great support over the years. So these are full-day workshops covering the fundamentals of LiDAR and how to work with LiDAR in ArcGIS Pro. They're full day, as I said, giving you lots of hands-on experience. I offer those with some limited in-person seating, as well as Zoom. We will sit together, work together throughout the whole day on those exercises. And we started all off with a real good foundational understanding of really what is LiDAR data. You can get the link right there. And again, this will be available when I push the video out to YouTube. Those links will be right in the description. To learn more, there's some training videos from USGS. There's the link for that. There are some links for the 3DEP program to learn a lot more about the 3DEP program. And now your turn for any questions that you may have for me. And some of these also might be answerable by Marshall from FEMA, who's on the line with us. Feel free to unmute yourself or pop your question into the chat line.